Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing chapters 45 and 46 of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, wherein we get a flashback to, the fair has come to town for young Shallan, and there's several pretty interesting things going on there. Meeting some interesting folks, trying to cheer her family up. It's a flashback that I quite enjoy, actually. And then in chapter 46, the main thing is Kaladin and Moash meet with Moash's new buddies and discuss where Kaladin stands on the whole, hey, we want to murder the king thing. So some interesting stuff happening this week. I'm Data, and with me today is...
Jamie.
Joe. And Dak.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, another just 2 chapters this time. What did you guys think of these 2 chapters?
Yeah, look, they were good. I kind of got into the first chapter and in Middlefest, and I was like, okay, this is happening. Oh, that's kind of interesting. That's what Shallan's doing. Or who is this guy at the end that knows all the things? I was really excited, and I think I want to go back and read it. I only read them just before we started recording, so 1, they're kind of fresh. 2, I've probably forgotten half of it already because that's how my brain works. But this guy, I'm super, super intrigued, and I want to know how he knew that she had this ability. Yeah, so I'm really excited to read that again and explore that a bit more. But it sounds like the first time really that we're seeing Shallan be able to use this power, and I'm hoping we kind of come up across this guy again. If we haven't already, I was trying to understand what was going on, but then also think about who this person was and had we met this person before or anything like that. And I haven't come up with anything yet, so yeah, bear with me on that one. Yes. And then the next chapter, they're all sitting around and they're having stew and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and I was like, oh yeah, another good times, for Bridge 4. Now that they're not really Bridge 4 properly anymore. I was like, that's good. That's all good. And then they went out, and I was like, yeah, Kaladin being out with friends just seems like a weird thing for him to go through right now. But then that scene, I didn't expect this to come around so quickly.
Yeah. For
Moash to introduce to our patriotic mercenary buddies. And just that line that sort of almost wraps up the chapter, be the surgeon that we all need. Wow, this is just like, how do you go from knowing, like, you've put a face to these people, you know who they are, and now you have to go back and protect the king, but also kind of not throw Moash under the bus. You know what? I'm with Dak. Throw Moash under the bus. You can't trust this guy.
Yeah, 100%.
He's still clearly for it. So yeah, I'm really keen to see what Kaladin's next moves are and how he's going to handle this situation, because yes, you've got to, his main duty is protecting Dalinar and Dalinar's family, but that includes the king. So yeah, you want to be keeping Moash away from, everything at this point, because could you say you don't trust him? Well, he's been pretty open about,
true,
now. Obviously he wasn't before, but yeah. And Danlin was the one that Adolin was dating. She was really interested.
Yep. But
then he said something. Was it he said something that she didn't appreciate or whatever, and then she was spreading rumors about him? Or was that her?
At first it sounded like she was saying things about Dalinar, and that's why they broke up. And then later we found out that he was kind of flirting with someone or something, and he was like, I'm just a friendly guy, and she got upset about that. So it was a mix of things that was there. But Danlin was the one that you were always like, she's a spy, I bet. And now kind of.
I don't like her. Yes, I still don't like her. I'm happy with that opinion, and I'll keep it.
Now that she wants to kill Elokar, yeah.
Some level of is it no, I've lost the word. You know, when you felt something and you're like, oh, no, I'm just crazy and I'm just being suspicious
Intuition?
of people, and then you're
Intuition.
it's not intuition, no, but like it's like I feel validated. It's validation.
Oh, gotcha.
Vindicated.
Yep.
That's a cool word.
Vindicated. I have entered proper baby brain mode, which you can cut that out if you want. But yeah, no, my brain doesn't work the way it used to. I'm a different person than I was before.
They suck all the life out of your brain.
100%.
I will also say, and I don't, in response to what you were saying about the person that Shallan meets, and I don't know if anybody else spotted this, but I'll read it out now. In the last section, we read the Ghost Bloods chapter, and she sees the Maraise guy from behind, and she goes, that guy looks familiar. He reminded her of someone, a man from her childhood, the messenger with the smiling eyes, the enigma who knew too much. Two blind men waited at the end of an era contemplating beauty, ... And then he turns around and she's like, oh, it's not him.
Man, you really busted my predicaments over here, Data. I didn't even give it a chance to give it.
It was just relevant to what, I mean, not that gives us any more information about who that person is, except that it's somebody she was already thinking about as like a little preview of what we would get like 2 chapters later.
Yeah, so these characters are similar in like appearance or stature or something. Like there's something about them that's ringing a bell for Shallan.
But yeah, so I knew when the Danlin reveal came, like Jamie would feel vindicated. Like, yes, I called it. There's something wrong. She was too quick to try to get in with Dalinar. Like, she shows up on the Shattered Plains and is dating Adolin like a day later and gets a job in one of Dalinar's scribes. And you were just like, there's something suspicious about her.
Yeah, and then you look at Shallan. She just shows up on the Shattered Plains, and she's betrothed to Adolin. And I mean, she did turn down the job in Dalinar's family, scribes and things. But yeah, poor Adolin. He just has these people around that are just full of suspicion. But he's lucky with no Shallan.
I think Shallan turned down that job for a better one, since she told everyone like Sabariel was going to pay her a ridiculous amount. And then Sabariel's mistress is like, yeah, I'll make sure you get paid.
Yeah. Shallan's got an agenda. It's just very different to Danlin's agenda, evidently.
It's true. Yeah. Shallan probably doesn't want to kill the king. She doesn't know him that well yet. Maybe after she gets to know him.
She's like, somebody should kill that guy. Well, Data busted my predicament for that first. Well, I mean, I guess not entirely, but here I'm connecting the dots, right? So I said last week that Maraise was Hoid. And so I think that this guy also is Hoid. And, it's not just that he reminded her of this guy. It is the same guy. It's Hoid. And we know he likes to disguise himself, make himself look different. And so I think we're still talking about the same bloke. It's him. It makes sense. He obviously, is a world hopper. He knows about these powers for him to uncover the power. And then funny enough, in the next chapter, they're talking about Hoid again. Basically, you get that impression because Sigsil gets all uncomfortable when they start talking about this guy that Rock met, that is a god, but has like gray hair and stuff. And Sigsil's like, wait, what? And so like, there's 2 points, at least from the way I read that, where we're talking about Hoid. One is in the flashback and one is in reference to this person, this godlike figure that Rock is talking about. Both of like the conversations in those chapters kind of point me to that's who they're talking about. So for me, the last really 3 sections were very Hoid heavy, right? Because we've got this guy Maraise, who I think is Hoid. Then we got a flashback where I think Hoid's there. And then they're talking about this god guy in the mountains, who I also think is Hoid. So a lot of Hoiding in my head going on in these chapters. But to just cover them overall, I would say the flashback I think was probably one of my favorite flashbacks, even though there was kind of a lot of enigmatic stuff going on, because we get to see like Shallan's trying to better her family, trying to keep her brothers like stable and together. And it doesn't like super work, but it's like really nice moment that she's like trying these things. And you can see that she like cares about her family a lot, because up to this point, I feel like we don't get like a huge impression of how important her family is. Like, yes, she decided to go on this mission to try to save her family, but like we still don't fully grasp how close they are, or how close she at least wants them to be. And so you can see in this flashback, she's really trying to bridge the gap between all of them to kind of keep them together in some kind of solid way. And so it was really nice. There were really nice moments in this section of chapters for Shallan, especially in that flashback, that kind of like give you a little bit of the heart and soul of these characters. I feel like the Kaladin stuff kind of started out that way. You're like, oh, look, he's checking on his troops. He's trying to keep everybody together. But then it devolves into, and like Jamie said, I wasn't really expecting us to meet these people so quickly. It kind of devolves pretty quickly into this like, oh, no, we're getting ready to meet these people that are trying to kill the king. When at first you know, my thought was like, they're going to go out and have a good time, and there's going to be some heartfelt moments. And there was a little bit, but it was more so about like the ending for me, where they're like, oh yeah, guess what? Like these guys are trying to kill the king. The fact that they asked Kaladin for help, I'm just like, what? Why would you do that? But
ballsy, yeah.
I think it's beyond ballsy. I think it's kind of stupid, but I guess Moash talked him up, and you know, I don't think Moash knows Kaladin like he thinks he knows Kaladin. And so I guess we'll find out what's going to happen. But, you know, there was that little thing sticking in the back of his mind. It's like, be the surgeon the country needs. It's like, oof, what is he going to do with that? So, but yeah, I really did enjoy these chapters quite a bit. I'm excited to see what happens next.
It's funny that neither you or Jamie, or rather both you and Jamie are like, I didn't expect it this quickly, because neither did Kaladin. Clearly, he's like, wait, what?
Yeah, he's like, oh. He's like, yeah, I thought you figured it out. It's like, nah, man, I thought we were just going out to hang out.
I love Moash. Is like, what, you didn't figure it out? Like, why else would we invite you? You're not that cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's poor Kaladin. But
Kaladin's just like, this is why I don't go out.
Yep.
I'm always
every time I go out, someone wants to kill the king.
Yeah, I'm just going out with the boys, having a good time, but no, it's never that. It's always king killing. It's always regicide. Why does it got to be like this?
It's so dramatic.
The one time you guys say, let's do something that's not work, you invite me out, and it turns into work.
This is why I don't hang out with you guys. I just eat my stew, go back to the barracks, and go to sleep.
For many reasons, you suck, Moash.
You make an interesting point about Moash maybe not knowing Kaladin as well as he thinks he does, because we know Kaladin he hates light eyes, right? And that's what Moash is banking on to some extent here, is that Kaladin doesn't like light eyes. The king is like the ultimate light. He's like the light eyes of light eyes, right? And so Moash has his personal hatred for the king, and maybe he lets that take him a little far in thinking that everyone hates the king, right? That guy's a jerk.
Yeah. Well, and I think what he's banking on, like you said, is that light eyes hatred. It's like there's still but at least what we're finding out about Kaladin is, and at least what Syl's trying to instill in him for sure, is like there's something higher than like that kind of hatred, and that's like his honor to his duty to protect those people that, you know, he doesn't super like, right? And so like that's what he's wrestling with at this point, is like his honor going against the request of like, yeah, I don't like the way these people treat us. Like, I don't like that we have to bow and scrape to them, but like at the end of the day, what's more important? Like, I gave my word to Dalinar that I would protect him and his family. Like, is that more important to me than my hatred of light eyes in general, or what I might think Elhokar's doing a bad job? Which Kaladin brings up a good point in the discussion, which I feel like they don't give enough merit to. It's like Dalinar's pretty much running the country anyway. Like, he's got Elhokar pretty firmly under his thumb at this point. Elhokar's not making a lot of policy these days, so I don't really know why they're like, nope, Elhokar's got to die. We've got to have Dalinar on the seat, like, completely at this point. Like, I don't really get it, but we'll get into it. I don't want to blow my whole opinions right at the start of the show. So
I feel like that's actually kind of a point in the con column about Dalinar. It's like, he's kind of usurping the authority in the country instead of like he's supposed to be serving the king. He's supposed to do what the king wants. And we saw at the end of last book, like he beats the crap out of the king to be like, hey, get it through your thick skull that I'm not trying to hurt you, okay? And we're going to do this my way because you're not doing a good enough job. And so, like, Dalinar, he hasn't acknowledged it much, but like this has got to be a problem that he's given his word to protect and like serve Elhokar as king, and yet he's kind of bossing him around, like you point out. And I don't know if that says something good or bad about him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think the overarching theme of like having to do that is to protect Elhokar. It's like, I swore to you that I would protect you in this kingdom. You are making it impossible for me to do that, so I'm going to take the reins and do it. But you're right. From a certain perspective, it could be basically like seen as usurping it, for sure.
Maybe we'll see if that dynamic develops further as we go.
These chapters, from the bottom of my heart, with every fiber of my being, fuck Moash.
Like, even the Shallan chapter, which has nothing to do with Moash. Fuck that guy.
Oh, no, like, let's just get the most important thing out of the way. Sincerely, fuck that guy. Yeah, no, good chapters. I liked Middlefest. It was a bit slow to get started, but once I got into the swing of things, I thought it was pretty cool. I did enjoy the whole, like, the guy from Shin is showing her a parrot, and she's like, I think it's a Voidbringer. I'm like, all right, that was pretty funny. But yeah, like, mysterious guy who, yeah, I also think was Hoid, was fascinating. Just when Hoid shows up, it's like, you know, fun things are going to happen, or at least it's always going to be interesting, even if you don't necessarily know it's him. So that was cool. Well, I agree with Joe. I think it was really nice to see Shallan like trying to, pick her brothers back up. I still am just like, Balat is a lost cause. Let's just let him die, please, for the love of God. He's like, he's almost Moash tier at this point. But yeah, like the others, there's hope for, like Jushu and what's the other one's name?
Like I said, there's Balat, there's Jushu, and there's Wickham. Yeah,
Wickham, that's the one. Yeah, like those two, they're not perfect, but they're not write-offs. But yeah, I do not like Balat, and I don't think I'm ever going to like Balat, so we can just lay that aside. But the thing that I was interested in was the fact that he said, Hellerin got disinherited, because I think we were running on the assumption for a long time that he would die. Because I think in the back of my mind, I also sort of wondered maybe his is Shallan's Shardblade.
Oh yeah, I think you may have even talked about that before. That's like he had a Shardblade, then Shallan has a Shardblade. Like maybe there's yeah. I couldn't remember if I brought that up before or not, but I think that's a possibility. So we always assumed that Hellerin had died, and that's why Balat was Tet Balat and not the other one. But no, he's just disinherited. So it's entirely possible Hellerin is still alive and out there if his blade is not in fact Shallan's blade. So that's given me some pause. So yeah, I'm curious to know more about that. And yeah, the Kaladin chapter, like I too was like when Danlin showed up among the conspirators, I was like, I fucking knew it. So very satisfying there. I think my favorite part was when Rock was describing the god that he met, and Sigil's just kind of gone, hang on a fucking second, what? And then it just goes completely unremarked upon. The moment breezes by, and like that's what I love about it. Sigil's just like Sigil was doing what we do in that moment. He's just gone, wait, was that Hoid? So yeah, like that was good. I don't know what to make of these conspirators, because I don't know if these guys are connected to the Ghostbloods or not. Like the Ghostbloods seem to be focused largely on Amaram, because they were attacking his borders, and even when Shallan met up with Mraize, he's like, no, we want dirt on Amaram specifically. So I don't know if they really give that much of a crap about like the Alethi ruling in general and what throwing off Elhokar would do. But you can't rule it out. So I don't know if Graves, even if he's not a Ghostblood, if he's an agent of them. So I don't know. They could be working multiple angles. We don't know.
Yeah, a lot of plates in the air. No, a lot of balls in the air. A lot of plates spinning. What?
A lot of strands in the old duder's head.
Yeah.
The old Deuterino's head.
Yep. So we're definitely going to get into examining this mysterious dude a little closer when we get into that chapter. So I'll just let that go. But yeah, I also love Sigzel's reaction. I think that may be one of the first times in reading these books where like I was aware at that point who Hoid was and that he was, this reappearing character, because you got to remember I would have read this book like before Era 2 even started coming out, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first times where I was like, wait a second, is that Hoid that they're talking about? Like there was my first opportunity to get that, like, oh my gosh, did I just spot something? So I always remember that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let's just get in these chapters. And I was about to say there's other stuff that I would point out, but we're about to get to those things if we just talk about the chapters. So let's do it. So we start with Middlefest and Shalon. And here's exactly one of the things that I was like, you mentioned the bird, and so I wanted to bring it up. Shalon is looking at a colorful creature on a perch, and it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. It's on 2 feet like a person, but its feet have claws, and it has barely any carapace at all, just a little bit like on the nose and the mouth. And it has hair, but like weird green hair. And the guy's like, hey, what do you think of my chicken? She's like, oh, I've eaten chicken. He's like, no, you haven't eaten chicken like this. Eating chickens are stupid. This one is smart.
Rare exotic green chicken.
Yeah. And he's like, say your name, Jack, son of none. So he's got like a Shin style name, like Seth, son Volano. Apparently Jack is the son of no one. So poor bird.
Poor bird.
And the parrot's like, Jack, son of none. And Shalon's like, it's a void bringer. You'll bring the unmade upon us. And he's like, these things live all over Shinovar. And then her dad calls her over. So this, I think, is the first opportunity we get to see something. And so I haven't really brought it up before. But we've heard chicken mentioned several times. The thing is, on Roshar, all birds are chicken. Which is what we see here, where it's like, clearly it's like a parrot or something. But they're like, hey, no, this is just a different kind of chicken.
Yeah, like the word chicken for them is what the word bird is for us.
Yeah.
That's
and
weird.
I don't think it's the only thing like that, so you can be on the lookout to see if you spot anything else that's like that. But
there's a tall chicken that had a thin neck and it ate frogs.
I think it's mainly because birds don't live on most of Roshar. Like, we know chickens, when that guy was buying chickens to sell, they came out of Shinovar, and these things live all over Shinovar. Like, I don't think they survive well outside of Shinovar, which is why to most people on Roshar, it's just like, that's the thing.
Yeah, maybe they have to eat on like stuff where there's grass that doesn't, shrink.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not mainly stone that they're walking on.
Yeah, or I mean, it's probably something to do with what they eat. Maybe they don't survive well on little crab bugs, and maybe they're on a lot of insects or seeds or whatever they would eat. Because even that guy has to buy, when he buys the chickens in the first book, he's like, you brought lots of food for them, right? He has to get the food out of Shinovar too. So, yeah, just a fun little weird bit of world building that birds are chickens.
I guess that mean like chicken, like the food would be a rare delicacy in like the more eastern parts of the world.
I think it is. That may have actually been mentioned too. I think it shows up at
Possibly,
one of like Elokar's feasts, and Donner's like, oh, it's that weird like Shin thing, the chicken.
Just remember a couple of friends of ours went to Iceland years and years back, and just for breakfast, like on the last day, like, they're I think they're at the airport. One of them ordered bacon and eggs, and then was like, why the fuck is this so expensive? And it's like, well, there's eggs. I don't think there's chickens in Iceland. I could be wrong, but I think they had to import eggs. Chicken eggs.
Yeah, it's probably a little cold for most free roaming chickens to be.
Yeah, I remember when we went to Hawaii, some things, like we went to a supermarket and some things were more expensive, I think, because they didn't have them. Mm-hmm.
They don't have like a lot of open territory for like cattle to graze or anything, so they have to bring a lot of that. That's why they eat so much Spam.
And they eat a lot of pig in general because they have pigs.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And fish.
Yep.
So Shalon's father calls her over. He's like, hey, you need to quit messing around. Come on. No looking at chickens. And so her dad is going to the dueling grounds. And basically, he's one of the more important people at this big festival. I think it says maybe there's like 3 other guys as highly ranked as him who will be showing up at this festival. So he's kind of holding court a little bit at the dueling ground where people are coming to talk to him. And he gives her a little speech about, hey, you're getting to an age where you need to start acting like a lady, quit running around, gawking at stuff. It won't be long before we have to find you a husband. And she's like, yes, father. And he's like, I need to stop bringing you to this stuff. At the very least, you need a new tutor. And then we found out he scared off the last tutor who had been teaching Shalon languages. And then one day her stepmother had shown up with bruises on her face and the tutor took off. So, yeah.
Yeah, when the lady of the house is getting beat up, probably fair to assume that as the hired help, you might get beat up worse.
Yeah. And it's funny because this is the first time we meet Shalon's stepmother. We heard about, like, she was on her way in the last flashback, right? He's like, I've just arranged to marry the youngest daughter of so-and-so. And so here she is, Melise, a little less than 10 years older than Shalon. A few streaks of blonde in her black hair, so kind of like Adolin. We got the guy who comes up to talk to her dad, who is dressed real nicely, but, like, has no nose.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
A wooden one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, he got a wooden one. That's fair.
He's blackmailing her dad.
Yeah, and, like, the guy is just, like, he proposes this ridiculous deal that won't benefit Lynn Devar at all. And he's like, why would I do this? And the guy's like, well, maybe you haven't heard, but I'm a pretty big deal now. The High Prince has invited me to spend 1 week a span or something like that with his, or 1 week out of the month at his place. So, yeah, I'm pretty awesome. I'm sorry, 1 week in 10, which, are there 10 weeks in a month? I feel like that's a thing. So then, yeah, 1 week. Anyway, so he's like, and nobody likes you. So you want to get your name out there. You want to have powerful friends. And I need to look like a financial genius to the High Prince so we can help one another out. And her dad's not happy about this. And eventually this Revelar guy is like, does the child need to be here? Like, get her out of here. And Shalon takes the opportunity to be like, ha, freedom. Terrible, terrible freedom. And she's going to go have fun. But first, there's work to be done. And she manages to, like, slip all the guards. Like, none of them follow her because their dad didn't give them her dad didn't give them orders to follow her. So first, we meet the daughter of Bright Lord Tavenar, who we saw briefly but didn't even get her name at the previous feast. Aelita, who, if you guys remember all the way back in the first book, is the person on the other end of the span reed when Shalon is communicating with her family back home and telling them, that she's stolen stuff, is Aelita. So
she married Balat.
It seems like this relationship is going places.
Yeah, at least not to her grave.
Yeah, not yet.
She can still do better.
And so Shalon has written Aelita a note previously, and she's like, so did you think about it? You'll be able to get away? And Aelita's like, oh, I can go wherever I want as long as I take my handmaid. And Shalon's like, man, that must be nice. All right. And she goes off to try to find her brother. And that's when one of her father's guards catches up with her, Jix. She's like, oh, are you here to accompany me? He's like, well, I was going to bring you back. And she's like, well, did my father order you to do that? No, he was busy. All right, then accompany me. I want to find the gambling pavilion. And he's like, oh, shit, no, that's not a good idea. And for a little girl like you, no. Well, I guess you could go tell my father what I'm doing. And he's like, and you'll just go off and try to find it on your own while no one's watching you, right? And she shrugs, blushing. That was exactly what she'd do. And so, he's like, oh, fine. Why did you defy him like this, Brightness? You're just going to make him angry. She's like, he's going to get angry no matter what I do. So he leads her to the gambling parlor. And he's like, do you want me to go in and place a bet for you? You don't have to go in. It's not a good place for you. And she's like, I need to find the Axe Hound fights. And he's like, oh, man, you're going to end up stabbed. And I'm going to get in so much trouble. But really, it's just that she knows that Balat is going to be at the Axe Hound fights. And he's watching.
Of course he is.
Yeah, right. It says that he's watching. He doesn't even come here to bet, really. He's just here to watch the Axe Hounds kill each other. And it says he's fixated on them with the intensity of a woman reading a powerful novel. Kind of creepy. But, I mean, it's Balat, so.
Yep. Yeah, no. This guy, not about him.
And she's like, here, I got you this letter from Aelita. And he's like, wait, what? Yeah, she wants to walk with you on by the fairground stream. She said she's going to be waiting there. And he's kind of like, oh my gosh. Oh my God. Like he's running his hand through his hair. Like, oh, what am I going to do? He's like, you talked to her without my permission? You'd said I'd be interested in something like this? And she's just like, But of course he is interested in that. So he's like, oh, I got to go.
Like, a girl or watching animals tear each other apart. It's such a hard decision to make for me.
Well, he is slightly conflicted. Like, he looks back at the Axe Hounds.
He's like, if only I could watch them rip each other to pieces.
And she's thinking, like, he's not a cruel man. She knew it was strange to think, considering the things he did sometimes. But
yeah, I'm gonna need to chime in for Patton here and go lie.
It's like, well, not a cruel man. I don't know about that, Shalon.
she says that he hadn't acquired the fascination with death until Mother had left them. He could come back, stop being like that. He could.
Hypothetically.
I mean, she just wants her big brother to be okay.
It sounds like he needs help. Like, what did he
Seriously.
see when his mother died? Like, this is pretty bad. Like, at first I'm like, this guy is just really messed up. But I was like, he's messed up, but it appears for a reason.
Yeah. The whole family is messed up, and maybe all for a reason.
True.
And she wants to find Jushu, but he's not in the gambling pavilion, weirdly, since he loves gambling. And he's like, I don't know. He ran off with some guys he met. What do I say to her? And she's like, how would I know? You're a woman, too. I'm 14.
Tell her how much you love watching axe hands rip each other apart. I'm sure she'll love that.
Yeah, that'll go. Yeah, right. And so since she can't find Jushu, they go off and head back over towards Father. And when they get there, there's a man she did not know with a cup of chilled water in his hand, blue-eyed, black hair, black outfit. That is actually how Wit dresses when we see him. He's got black hair, black outfit.
Yeah, that's what kind of clued me in even at this moment. I was like, they specifically mentioned the black hair, and when Wit is being, because I'm saying that Wit is Hoid. It's like when Wit is being Wit, it's like that's how he looks.
Well, we know Wit is Hoid because like he in the first
he
book,
said he
Wit was
called
talking to
himself
Dalinar and he said calls himself Hoid.
Yeah.
Right.
This guy looks over, sees Shalon, and then starts dropping his cup. Although he manages to like catch it in time to stop it from spilling. And her father's like, clumsy fool. And she asks her stepmother, like, who's that? And Melisse is like, nobody important. He says he's brought word from your brother, but he's such a low dawn, he can't even produce a writ of lineage. And she's like, this guy came from Halaran? Oh.
He can't produce a writ of lineage because he's not from this planet.
And then she sees something very strange where the guy pulls something out of his pocket, a little pouch, and he moves to pour it into one of the drinks. And she freaks out, like, this guy's going to poison my dad. But then he dumps the pouch into his own drink and drinks it. Some kind of powder. And she's like, what the hell was that?
I would rather poison myself than listen to this guy talk for another minute.
Well, so assuming, let's just go with what you guys are thinking. Assuming this is Hoid, what kind of powdered substance would he maybe consume?
Allomantic metals?
Yeah.
He might want to use some He might want to use some allomantic metals that manipulate emotions when talking to someone as crazy as Shalon's dad.
Now you're using your brain, Data, even though you know the answer, or I guess maybe not because it's never been proven. But yeah, good thinking.
Yeah, just a theory about what's happening there. But so after the conversation is done, she's like, "Dad, you have news from Halaran?" And her father's like, no one will speak that name from now on. Today I declare him disinherited. Tet Balat becomes non-Balat. Wickham becomes Tet. Jushu becomes Asha. I have only 3 sons.
This seems like an overreaction, Dad.
I mean, we don't know for sure what the message was, but we do get an explanation from the guy after a little bit. He's upset that none of his sons are dining with him as would be proper. Jushu's probably drinking somewhere. Stormfather only knows where Balad is gone. Wickham refuses to leave the carriage. Please go talk to him. If I went to him, I worry what I would do. And she's like, even her dad, she's like, I mean, he tries. They all try. She's trying to, think the best of everybody. She's walking over towards the carriages. She's a mink slinking in the shadows. It's a random thing to throw in there. And Wickham is indeed in the carriage, just hanging out. And Wickham says, like, I like that he's just like, are you here? Did Father tell you to come, or is it one of your little missions of mercy? She's like, I mean, both. And he says, you can't fix us, Shalon. Jushu will destroy himself. Balat is becoming Father step by step. Melisse spends 1 night and 2 weeping. Father will kill her one of these days, like he did Mother. Yeah, I can see why this guy'd be depressed. Doesn't sound like a great.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like he's having a good time.
You're not gonna have a good time. Okay.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, me, I won't be around to see any of it. I'll be dead by then. And he's like, so what did you come up with for me? I assume you used the girl on Blot. And she's like, yeah. And she brought him some math problems. And he's like, I'm not an ardent. I'm not going to be spend my days boxed up. And she's like, but that doesn't mean you can't study. Like, I translated these equations for predicting high storms into, like, glyphs so you could read them. Maybe you could, like, try to guess when the next one's coming. He's like, you translated all this? This must have taken you days. Or how long did this take you? And she thinks it had taken weeks, but she had nothing but time. And he's like, this is stupid. I can't believe you wasted so much time on this. And she, like, starts to tear up and leaves. Like, it felt horrible. Not just his words, but how her emotions betrayed her. And she runs off and runs into the guy who was just talking to her dad. The guy says, axe hound. And she's like, wait, what? I've wondered if any of you find that term odd. You know what an axe is, but what's a hound?
Yeah, him talking about this stuff is like another clue to me that I feel like this is Hoid, because it's like he's like, yeah, you guys say this thing, but like, do we know what a hound is? Like, do you know where that name comes from?
If I show you an authentic hound, you're probably going to call it a Voidbringer or something.
That's an interesting point. Do they have mammals at all? I guess we saw a mink. So
They got horses.
And horses, yeah. There's some
mammals. Their version of mink is probably a crab mink, though.
Look at this cute little crab weasel.
And I mean, yeah, just the hound thing totally does give like a not from this world impression. And even if there were no other evidence, when you find some random guy not from this world, the first thought is often Hoid. We didn't think that about Zahel, but that's probably because Kaladin had met Hoid and also Zahel, and probably he would have noticed.
Yeah.
Zahel just takes off his mask, his like Mission Impossible mask, and Kaladin's like, it was Wit all along. Who knew?
Son of a bitch. Do you still have my flute? Yeah.
Does he? We haven't seen him practicing it.
I mean, probably just got it in his room.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Hoid to like reappear to Kaladin at some point, and they're talking, and then like Sigzil walks in. It's like, you.
Sigzil doesn't sound like he would be thrilled to meet Hoid again.
No.
So it might be interesting for sure.
I feel like Sigzil was like a high and dry situation, like with what's her name? Huh?
Being a bridgeman was a high and dry situation, maybe.
Like he was left high and dry and had to become a bridgeman because Hoid did something much similar to what he did to the girl from that other short story.
Oh, to Shy, yeah.
Shy, yeah.
Yeah. When he was the Imperial Fool. Which sounds a lot like the King's Wit, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say, that sounds similar to what he's doing as the King's Wit.
So he's a court jester or he's a beggar. Those are his, and sometimes he's a chauffeur. He's got a whole bunch of stuff he can do.
Well, there's no kings on this planet for me to be.
It's true.
I'm a beggar. I'm a chauffeur. I'm a midnight toker.
Would have been hard to get in with the Lord Ruler back in those days.
Maybe so.
Just picture him like trying to like be a court jester for Rashek, and Rashek and all the Inquisitors are just standing around, just going, "Sir, we do not have senses of humor."
They don't seem like to do so.
It's like this is weird. We don't like it.
There's an animated movie, our daughter loves it, called The Last Unicorn from the 80s.
Yeah.
And there's a whole thing when they finally come across like the king towards the end. He's voiced by Christopher Lee, and like he keeps trying to, like, the king just really wants something in his life that will make him happy, and he's like, I keep trying, but nothing makes me happy. And so Alan Arkin is this really goofy magician, and so he's like, oh well, I can try and do that, and it's like, okay, so you get bits of like, you know, Alan Arkin juggling or doing all these things, and the king is just sitting on the throne, just staring deadpan at him.
Oh, does the unicorn make him happy?
That's kind of a whole thing.
He's like, I don't want to get into the entire plot, but
Yeah,
basically there's a reason the movie's called The Last Unicorn. I'll put it that way.
You made me picture like he's trying to bring like the King's Wit position to Rashek, and so he's just sitting on a stool in Rashek's like throne room, and like Carr the Inquisitor comes in and he starts insulting him, and everyone's just like, what are you doing?
Like, look at this guy. Looks like you had a real bad acupuncture problem. And Carr's like, oh, kinda. And Wit's like, ooh, tough crowd.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, there are spikes rammed through my face and the rest of my body.
But what this guy says to Shallan is, I didn't expect to find you here, or find you here. And she's like, where did you expect to find me? And then he jumps down from the branch that he's sitting on, and she gets kind of scared. And he's like, oh, no need to fear me. I'm terribly ineffective at hurting people. I blame my upbringing. And she wants to know about her brother, and he says he's doing things he finds important. I would fault him for it, as I find nothing more frightening than a man trying to do what he decided is important. Very little in the world has ever gone astray, at least on a grand scale, because a person decided to be frivolous, which I love that.
That's a very Hoidism.
It very much is, yes. And the message was that for your father, Helaran has eyes nearby and is watching. So that does seem like a bit of an overreaction. That it's like, he's got his eyes on you. Well, fuck him then. He's disinherited.
I have no son.
If we learned anything about Shallan's dad, is that rationality is the furthest thing from his mind.
Okay, fair point, yeah.
It's just like, he's gonna watch me, huh? Watch this. He just flips Hoid off. He's like, I'm not him, right? Like, I'm just the guy telling you.
Yeah, maybe one of those guys is around here watching, though. So
maybe
if
I kick you hard enough.
Yeah.
If I kick you hard enough, my son will feel it.
Yeah, if I kick you in your ass hard enough, maybe his ass will start to hurt.
So then this guy asks her, tell me, young one, do Spren speak to you? Then a weird kind of non sequitur series of paragraphs. The lights going out, life drained from them, twisted symbols the eye should not see, her mother's soul in a box. And then she's just like, no, why would Spren talk to me?
It's like creepy as fuck.
Right, yeah. I should get back to my dad. He'll be missing me. And the guy says, your father is slowly destroying your family. Your brother was right on that count. He was wrong about everything else. I mean, he's not instantly killing them all. Like you could do it faster.
Yeah, well, I guess. Also,
could be done with more speed, Dak. Yes, he could pull out a knife and be like, "It's over."
Finish him.
Also, I'm gonna throw the dumb thing out before we glaze over. It's like my mother's soul in the box, guys. What if her mum was a Spren all along? What if her mum is Pattern?
That would. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know at all what to do with that.
That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack there, Dak. Well, yeah.
I thought it. Now you guys have to suffer it.
Is Pattern like
he does
Loki?
talk about the lies a lot.
Delicious
lies. He's actually just a mother chiding her child, just like, stop telling lies.
Except Pattern loves to lie.
Tell your lies to me. That way you don't have to lie to anybody else.
Yeah.
But the guy points back to the carriage, and she looks, and Wickham is in there with the math problems she'd left him. He's scribbling, and he's smiling, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's working. And then he says the thing that she remembered when she saw Mraize and thought it might be the guy from her youth. Two blind men waiting at the end of an era contemplating beauty. And he's telling like a little story. One of them's like, can beauty be taken from a man? And basically the two blind men are debating like if blindness stops you from perceiving beauty. One of them thinks it does, and the other one is like, no, there's lots of ways to like see the beauty in the world without seeing.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of a cliche story, but it's also like a nice moment, I feel like.
Yeah. And in the end, he asks her, like, the guy's like, well, what if you couldn't see or hear or smell or feel or taste? Then beauty would be taken from you. And Hoid's like, well, what do you think? If all your senses were taken, if all you knew was pain, has beauty been taken from you? And she's like, well, does the pain change from day to day? And he's like, yeah, okay, let's say it does. She said, well, then beauty to that person would be when there's less pain. Why are you telling me this story, though? To be human is to seek beauty, Shallan. Do not despair. Do not end the hunt because thorns grow in your way. And then he asks her to tell him the most beautiful thing she can imagine. And he has her like really picture it and describe the details to him and like close her eyes. And she paints this picture of like her family still being whole and together and happy. And like they're laughing together. They're playing. Everything is good. The way everything should have been. And then she looks and she can see in the air, like almost real, the scene in front of her. And suddenly the guy whips out a bunch of spheres and holds them up, and the stormlight kind of rises up. And then she says no, and the light fades away. And he's like, you don't understand the nature of lies yet. I had that trouble myself long ago. The shards here are very strict. You'll have to see the truth, child, before you can expand upon it, just as a man should know the law before he breaks it. And he tells her that he can't stay, he can't help her, but keep cutting at those thorns, strong one. Make a path for the light. He tells her that her brother is in Alethkar because that's where he feels he needs to be. If I see him again, I'll give him word of you. And he takes off, and she realizes she never even got his name, and that's the end of our section, of our flashback. So it seems like this guy gave her what she needed when she needed it, like encouragement when she was about ready to give up. But whoever it is also seemed to know something about her powers and about Spren and all that sort of thing. So somebody knows some stuff. And then we get our other chapter for today, Patriots, and our epigraph. When Simmal was informed of the arrival of the Edge Dancers, a concealed consternation and terror, as it's common in such cases, fell upon him. So apparently the Edge Dancers are scary when they show up. Although they were not the most demanding of orders, their graceful limber movements hid a deadliness that was by this time quite renowned. Also, they were the most articulate and refined of the Radiants. So graceful, limber, deadly, articulate, and refined are the Edge Dancers. That sounds like an interesting group. Kaladin. He's inspecting Bridge 17, and they've gotten better. They're improving since we last saw them. And he lets them know, like, you guys are doing a good job. I'm proud of you. Bridge 18, on the other hand, not doing so well. Their sergeant's not the best one, but also, like, the men, they're not gelling well. And so he's like, we're going to have to try another training session, and if that doesn't work, maybe we split them up into other groups.
Sorry to go back a little bit, but I don't remember us talking about this, but it stuck out to me when I read it in the last section, and they also talk about the weeping in this section. And I don't think I ever understood until Shallan makes mention of it in the flashback what the weeping is. So I guess there's like a time when it rains, but there's no high storms. Like, I don't know. I don't fully understand, I guess, what they're talking about there. Have they talked about this in detail before and I just don't remember?
No, there hasn't been any detail. There's been mentions of it here and there. And like you say, it comes up again in this chapter. But basically the way it works is, yes, there's a time during the year where it rains pretty much the whole time and there's no high storms, except every other year there's a high storm right in the middle on what I think in this chapter he calls it light day. So on, say, I don't know if it's actually odd or even, but say on odd years, there's light day in the middle when it stops raining and it's just a day. And then on the odd years, there's that day in the middle, but there's a high storm on that day.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just trying to, like, mid-piece weeping, I was trying to, like, figure out what they're referring to there. So that makes more sense.
And we got a little bit of that in a Kaladin flashback in the first book where, like, the weeping had come and he gets depressed. He has, like, the seasonal affective sort of thing going on. And with all the rain, he's getting depressed because it's just dark and rainy all the time.
Yeah, and his mom's, like, doing stuff out in the rain. Yeah, I remember this now.
And Silk comes up. She's like, everyone else is eating their dinners. And he's, good. That wasn't a status report, Kaladin. It was a point of contention. You are working still. Then he tries to change the subject. He's like, hey, have you seen any more of those red Spren? Yeah, in the corner of my eye, watching me. So there's some icky Spren around, and Sill's keeping an eye out. Something is coming. The countdown points right towards the weeping. So he gets back to Bridge 4. Everyone's hanging out, having stew. Renarin is there, still washing dishes. And actually, he seems to, like, he says he doesn't have any of that spoiled temperament of his brother. And he doesn't, like, he sits on the edges of the group, he says, near the back. But he seems to be getting along with people, so that's good. And then, as Kaladin's walking in, he sees not one, but 3 beefy Herdazians in Bridge 4 uniforms. And he only recognizes Punio of the 3.
He's like, oh god, they're multiplying.
And Lopin's like, yeah, my cousins. Rod, Puio, say hi.
I just like, you have too many cousins.
Yeah.
This is not right.
100% too many cousins.
And he says, that's impossible. You can't have too many cousins. Like, the 2 new guys just raise their bowls like, Bridge 4.
Yeah, Bridge 4, yeah, we know the drill. It's like, you guys weren't here at all before. You don't know anything about Bridge 4.
He just shakes his head and he's like, I'm not gonna, let's just go.
I'm too tired of it, working all day. It's fine. They're not going to do anything.
But then we have a moment with Shen where he's like, hey, Shen, come here. I talked to Dalinar today and I asked him if I could arm you. And he asked if I trusted you. I told him the truth. I do. And he gives him a spear and he says, Bridge 4 doesn't have slaves. I'm sorry for being scared before.
Yeah. This is just another nice moment in these chapters.
Right.
You know, it's just like, that's what I was talking about when we first started talking about the chapters today. Like, there's just some nice moments.
Yeah. Agreed. And I mean, we understood where he was coming from when he said it before. Like, he told Shen, like, I can't do that. but at the same time, it felt kind of unpleasant, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so it is really nice to see that now. And he even says, like, hey, Leighton and Tom, they have an extra practice in the morning with some of the men, and they'll help you learn so you don't have to, like, train with the newbies because you're one of us. And Shen says, you are a good man. And he says, I've spent my life being judged for my eyes, Shen. I won't do the same to you because of your skin. And Shen starts to say something, and Moash is like, Kaladin. And Shen's like, later, it's fine.
Damn, Moash ruins everything.
He really does. We could have had a nice moment with Shen. Instead, we got this fucker.
Yeah, he's like, come hang out with us so that we can plot to kill the king, normal, completely casual.
I would rather hang out with the crab.
And so, yeah, Moash is like, come on, we're going out. Even Rock is coming tonight. And he's like, you promised, Kaladin. And Kaladin's like, I didn't promise, but okay, fine.
Whatever.
You're full of crap.
I guess he
meant argument, Moash.
Yeah, I guess he meant he promised that he'd go talk to those guys, but he didn't know that's what it was about.
He doesn't really. Maybe that's why he's like, I thought you understood what I was saying, Kaladin.
That's not the promise that I meant, jackass. So
we got Lopin, Pete, Sigzil, Moash, and Rock going out together. And Kaladin now, yeah. And I like Kaladin's like, if this was one of my old crews, I'd assume they wanted me out of camp so they could get away with something while I was gone. But these guys, they just want to see that I'm human. And Rock, apparently, they've challenged him to a drinking contest. And Kaladin's like, whoa, wait, I didn't sign up for that shit. And Lopin's like, I am going to be victorious. It is said you should never bet against a one-armed Herdazian in a drinking contest. And Moash's like, it is? It will be said. And then he says it.
It will be said. I just said it.
You weigh about as much as a starved axe hound, Lopin. And he's like, but I have focus. I'm sure that'll work out for you. And so there's a lot of places to drink in Dalinar's camp. I kept wanting to say Sadius' camp because he thinks, like, he sees all these soldiers doing soldier stuff that you didn't see in Sadius' army, like sharpening spears, oiling breastplates, so on and so forth. But they're heading for the tavern section of town. And here's where it says, the weeping was coming up soon, the time of constant rain with no high storms. The only break was light day, right in the middle. It was an off year in the 1,000-day cycle of 2 years, which meant the weeping would be calm this time. So this is the year where there's no high storm in the middle.
Or will there be?
The countdown is apparently pointing at the weeping, so who knows what will happen when the countdown ends. I think Dak has had some theories about a certain storm showing up.
Yeah, I've not held back on that.
Yeah. But they argue about what place they're going to go drinking, and Moash is like, we're going to the Ornery Chull. It's my turn to choose. And Rock's like, oh, they don't have any Horn-Eater lagers. That's because Horn-Eater lagers melt your teeth.
At first, this just seemed like like when you eat or drink something, it's like, oh man, this like tastes like shit, and you're being figurative. But then someone else says the exact same thing later on, and it's like, does it actually? Like, it melts the cups?
Yeah, that's what she says later. She says it melts the cups, and I'm like, wait, so what's in it?
Like, what the fuck are you? What are you doing? What are your stomachs made of?
Yeah, I think honestly though, and Data can correct me if I'm wrong, if it's something we should know. Aren't all their cups like made out of the like creme clay stuff? So like I could get it if like a liquid was very acidic or like broke down like the clay of the cup or whatever.
A lot of cups may be clay. In my mind, they got like some wood ones, but the creme is probably way more easy to
abundant.
Get. So,
yeah, that's what I envision is like the creme stuff.
Yeah, you may be right. And then Sigzil walks up carrying chowder, and Kaladin's like, oh, not you too. He's like, it's good. You don't even know what's in it. Of course I do. Hey, Lopin, what's in it?
They're all chowder heads is what I wrote in my notes, which, great pun. But also, like, it crossed my mind, like, what if chowder's made out of, like, people,
Apparently
like
it's made out
green.
Apparently it's made out of soul-cast meat, which is not the tastiest meat, but...
Yeah, soul-cast meat, a.k.a. human.
What spices are for?
Yeah. Well, and apparently they mix it with some grain and batter it and fry it, and then you pour gravy on it, so...
Yeah, after you do all that, I mean, it'd be good. Yeah, exactly.
And they fry the bread.
With fried with gravy.
Mm.
I love that Pete notes it's cheaper than water. And even Rock is eating some. And Rock looks a little bit like, it says he looks a little bit sheepish as he takes a bite, but also there's a crunching sound, and apparently there are deep fried crumbling claws in his.
Sure.
Interesting.
Gotta have that.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And Kaladin's just like, whatever, I give up on trying to fight this. Let's just go.
I'm not gonna eat any though, still.
I'm not going to try the chowder, but I will not complain when you do.
I mean, even Wayne eats the chowder. It must be good.
Wayne eats anything.
Maybe.
Wayne would eat half a basketball if he found it in the rubbish.
If he got to trade for it.
Yeah.
But the place is real busy, and it counts like we'll never find seats. But it turns out Pete has got the hookup here because there's a pretty dark-eyed woman working here, and apparently they've got something going on. And Sigil's like, hey, have you given any thought to where you're going to house the married men of Bridge 4? And Colin's like, oh, I had not thought of that.
Oh, God, we can do that? Oh, God, we can do that.
Rock is already married, apparently, but he sent a letter to his family, but it'll take a while. Teft had been married, but his wife was dead. I don't think we'd heard that before.
Yeah, that seems like news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we knew that, but I could have just put something together in my brain.
Maybe we did. Maybe I forgot. We know we know his parents and stuff all died. I think we know. Whatever.
Yeah. Turns out Teft killed him, so.
Oh no! Flashbacks for the next book.
Yeah, that's why he was a bridgeman.
What was Teft doing the night the Gavilar was killed?
Could be. That would be an interesting, like, not even anywhere near Kolinar where it's happening. It's like Teft is in a totally different part of the country.
Oh no! He wasn't Colin. He was one of the guards who got stuck to the ceiling, and when he kept saying no, the guy stuck me to the ceiling. They didn't believe him, so they made him a bridgeman.
That would be hilarious, actually.
That would be that would be rough.
And so they start talking about, like, I mean, some married soldiers rent places in the market. Men could do that. And Rock's like, this would break up Bridge 4. It cannot be allowed. But I mean, there's a lot of empty barracks around. He thinks he can probably get Dalinar just assign some for the married folks. It's fine. And like Kaladin's like, she doesn't like own the place. No, she's just a barmaid. But Pete is quite taken with her. And Kaladin's like, we got to see if she can read. It would be real nice if we had somebody around who could read. Because in a normal army, the guy in charge would be a Light Eyes, and his wife or sister would be the scribe for the battalion and the clerk. They don't have that because Kaladin does not have a wife or sister. Makes you wonder how they get any paperwork done. Maybe he just borrows like one of Dalinar's scribes.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's been Danlin this whole time. He's like, I know you.
What could have been? And when Ka, the barmaid, comes over, Rock's like, Horn Eater lager? She's like, it melts our cups. Ale? So yeah, that sounds. I mean, we did learn that Horn Eaters have like very strong teeth. That's why they eat horns and claws when nobody else can like do that. At least Rock said they have strong teeth. But yeah, so let's go to your stomach, right? Kaladin does not like the place. It's loud, it's obnoxious and smelly and smoky. People laughing and clanking, and that's why I don't go to bars. Well, also I don't drink, so there's not any reason for me to be there. But anyway, it's loud tonight because the army won a plateau run beside Bethab's army. And Rock says it's nice to have so many people. It makes the place warmer. It's too cold outside. And Moash is like, too cold? You're from mountains. It's got to be colder up there than anything down here. And Rock's like, too much air. Hard for you to think. Horn Eater Peaks is warm. And Cal's like, wait, really? Like, this does not make sense to anybody except Sigil's like, no, it's true. There's like hot springs up in the peaks that warm them up. And Rock's
so they
like,
live in volcanoes, is what you're saying.
Mean, yeah, it sounds like it.
Fucking volcano theories coming back.
Geothermic heat.
And Rock is like, not springs. Horn Eater oceans are waters of life. And Pete's like, oceans? Yeah, very small oceans. One for each peak. And Sigil explains the top of each mountain is a crater. And there's a lake inside them that's all warm. And it creates like a pocket of livable land up there. But if you walk too far from town, you end up in ice fields and are freezing. And Rock's like, you tell story wrong. It's like, this isn't a story. These are facts. And Rock says, everything is story. And then Rock tells the story about the origin of the Horn Eaters, which I love the story that Rock tells. It's a little bit different from like a Hoid story, but I find it pretty delightful here. Everyone wanted to kill the Horn Eaters. They were scared of us because the stories say we're just that good at fighting. So they all ganged up on us and almost destroyed us.
Just the way he tells the story. I'm just like, yes, people of the world, they hate the Horn Eaters. We are too strong and virile.
It is like a very Russian attitude.
Yeah.
Russia is best, is greatest, so obviously everyone hate.
Yes.
We invent all the things. But so he says that they went to the gods of the gods of the trees and the gods of the ocean to try to hide them. And the god of the trees is like, no, men hunt us too. If you hide here, they'll chop you up and use you for wood, like us. And the god of the ocean is like, no, if you
Say,
try to live
wait,
here,
what?
the men will get you with hooks and you'll become their meals.
Wait, again, what?
But the god of the mountains is like, if you can live here, if you like, then we'll let you live here, basically. And so they get together with the god of the oceans and the god of the trees, and they make a place up there that's like livable. And the god of the mountain is impressed because they take care of their own problems, and so the god lets them live there. And I love Moash. He's like, wait. So the god is pleased that you solved your own problems by going to other gods and asking for their help. And Rock's like, hush, is good story and is truth. So Rock says that sometimes if you swim in the oceans up there, you see the place of gods. And Cal's like, what? Like, yeah, the place where the gods live.
So one of these volcanoes is actually a perpendicularity, and every so often someone falls in. It's like, I've seen where the gods come from. It's like, that was another planet, dude.
Well, or just maybe just like the cognitive realm or whatever. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
Which does seem like Shadesmar seems to be where Spren come from, and Rock calls the Spren gods. So
that makes sense. I was just imagining a Horneater just like washing up on Scadrial, like in the midst of like Rush X rule, and just going, I've seen the realm of the gods, and everyone's like, this is a shithole.
that would be awesome, actually. Yeah.
I mean, you'd be coming in either the well or the pits of Hathston, so
yeah, neither place probably fun, right?
No.
And I don't know if you came up in the well. I don't know that you could get out because there was like the weird. It was dark down there in the secret cache of stuff, and there was like a secret door that led out. So
gods live in a cave with no exit. Great.
And Lopen's like, hey, I want to visit. Go for a dip. And Rock's like, is death to one not of our people. I could not let you swim.
Because it's sulfur.
It's sulfur.
And Sigzil says, swimming in the emerald pools is death to outsiders because you execute outsiders who touch them. And Rock's like, no, this is not true. Listen to story. Stop being boring.
Stop being boring. He's like, it's not true, but it also is way more boring if you tell it that way. So it's probably true, but it's just boring.
And Rock's like, look, under the water is the place of the gods. It's true. I've met a god myself. And Cal's like, oh, like Syl or like a river spren? And Rock's like, no. I met Lunuanaki. And Moash is like, great. Wonderful. Glad for you. Lunuanaki. Lunuanaki is the god of travel and mischief. Very powerful god. He came from depths of peak ocean, from realm of gods. And Lopen's like, ooh, what does he look like? He's like person, maybe a lefty, skin lighter, very angular face, white hair. And Sigzil's like, wait, white hair? Yes, not gray like old man, but white. Yet he is young man.
Hoid.
Spoke with me on shore, made mockery of my beard.
Hoid for sure.
Does sound like Hoid.
That'll be my ringtone. Does sound like Hoid.
Thought my name was funny. Very powerful god. It does. I mean, is there any doubt that was clearly Hoid who came through a perpendicularity and was like, what year is it here? Okay.
Nice beard, jackass.
And Lopen's like, were you scared? And he's like, no. Lunuanaki cannot hurt man. It's forbidden by other gods. Everyone knows this.
Interesting, if true.
If true.
We have gotten indications that
he's not supposed to interfere with stuff.
Well, no, that Hoid has issues hurting people. If you'll remember, back to Secret History, when he comes out of the well and hits Kelsier, he's like, oh, I can hit you. Maybe it's because you're already dead or something like that. I forget the exact line. But there's an indication there that maybe he has problems hurting people. And as a potential addition to that, in the last chapter, the guy tells Shallan, you don't have to be scared of me. I'm really not good at hurting people. I blame my upbringing.
Please stop sinning while I'm singing.
Anyway, moving forward. Everyone's talking about stuff. Apparently, Sadeas and Ruthar went on a plateau run that they weren't supposed to go on and claimed they didn't get the gem heart, but everyone knows that really they did and were hiding it because Sadeas is a shithead. And Callan thinks someone needs to put Sadeas down. He's as bad as Amaram. And he thinks, like, I could use my powers. I can run up walls, get to windows that nobody thinks are accessible. I could sneak in there, bring justice to the world. And then his gut told him there was something wrong with that reasoning. But he had trouble producing it logically.
Well, he is slightly drunk.
I mean, honestly, I see the conflict because it's like it is wrong to sneak in by night and murder someone in their bed. But also, it's Sadeas. I think everyone would be better off if you did that. So, no, I get it. And then Moash is like, hey, are you ready? And Callan's like, ready for what? Yeah, the meeting in the back room. I saw them come in a little bit ago.
Are you ready for what? I'm not going to make out with you. What do you want?
Are you ready?
How would Kaladin have known that these people were coming in? Like, he doesn't know what they look like. What makes Moash think that Kaladin has any clue what is going on?
We never discussed. That's what we're doing, you twit.
He just goes, I thought you'd figured it out. Come on.
Why are you like this?
I prefer to Joe's version where Moash is like, are you ready? And Callan's like, what, to make out? No.
It's like, dude, I don't like you that way. Sorry.
I'm not sure I like you at all.
I mean, you're all right, but
And so
you're no Rock, that's for sure.
They leave the other guys. Lopin's getting drunk on his third drink. Rock has had 6 or 7 and is fine. Sigzil has had
Rock's
2,
like,
but
you think of Rock's body size, like he could probably drink a barrel.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like a 9-foot tall monster of a man.
Yeah,
big.
I think that was kind of his point when he's telling Lopin, was like, dude, you're tiny. It's like, but I've got
Yeah.
focus.
But they go back into the back room. There's a guard, a swarthy man, lounging outside of something. Azish, or maybe a very tan Alethi. And Scylla's like, Kaladin, be careful. And they go into the room. There's 3 men and a woman at a table inside. 2 of the people, including the woman, are Light Eyes. And Kaladin's like, well, I should have known there'd be a Light Eyes involved. There was a shard blade after all. And the main guy has expensive clothes. And he goes, oh, so this is the famous Kaladin. It's a pleasure to meet you. Embarrassing Sadeas while saving the Blackthorn himself. Good show, man. Good show. And Kaladin's like, and you are a patriot. A patriot. Come on. Call me Graves. And I love that Kaladin keeps trying to cut to the point, and the other guy keeps trying not to real hard. Like Kaladin goes, are you the shard bearer? And Graves is like, straight to the point, huh? And he recognizes Danlin as one of Dalinar's clerks. It's like, yes, Danlin is a member of the High Prince's retinue. Please sit, Kaladin, have some wine. And Kaladin's like, so you are trying to kill the king then? And Graves is like, he is direct, isn't he? Graves says that we are patriots of Alethkar, the Alethkar that could be. And once again, Kaladin's like, let's just cut the shit. Patriots who want to murder the king is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. Look, I'm tired. I had a long day. I was hanging out with my troops. Some of them are not ready. And now you want me to play a guessing game. I'm done with that. You're trying to kill the king. Is that what's going on?
And finally Graves is like, okay, fine. We'll get on with it. Elokar is a super bad king. Like, you must have noticed this. And Cal's like, well, it's not really my place to pass judgment on a king. And Graves is like, come on, you've seen how he acts. Spoiled, petulant, paranoid.
I mean, he's no Joffrey.
I never saw Joffrey as king. I only watched 2 episodes of that show.
Yeah, fair. All right, let's go a different way. He's no Iadon.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Careful, Dak. Some people may not know that Joffrey became king.
He's blowing this kingdom to the ground. And Danlin's in here like, do you know what kind of policies he put in place before Dalinar got him under control? I spent the last 3 years in Kholinar helping the clerks sort through the mess he made of the laws. There was a time he signed practically anything if he was cajoled the right way, which maybe that explains what happened with Moash's family, where there's just somebody who's like, hey, sign this, wink, wink. And he's like, yeah, whatever. He's incompetent. He gets good men killed and lets that bastard Sadeas get away with high treason. And Cal's like, so you want to assassinate him? And Graves is like, yes, fine. Yes, we want to kill him. And Moash jumps in too. He's like, yeah, if Elokar got removed, what would happen? Ask yourself that, Kaladin. And Cal's like, well, I mean, Dalinar would probably take over. The king has a kid, but he's barely a few years old, so Dalinar would at least be like a regent. And Graves is like, and the kingdom would be better off. Yeah, as Joe mentioned, he says, Dalinar practically runs the place anyway. And Danlin says, no, he holds himself back. He knows he should take over, but he hesitates out of love for his dead brother. And the other high princes see this as weakness. And Graves is like, yeah, we need the Blackthorn back. Otherwise, the kingdom will fall. So, yes, we're assassins, murderers, or would-be ones anyway. But we don't want to kill a bunch of innocent guards. We just want the king removed quietly, preferably as an accident. But we've had trouble working that out. So that's why we want to talk to you. And Colin's like, I mean, I could just turn you guys in. Inviting me here was a risk. And Gage says, well, Moash says you were trained as a surgeon. What do you do if a hand is festering and threatening the whole body? Do you just wait and hope it gets better? All we want from you is an opening when no guards will be hurt. We didn't want the king's blood in our hands, but we've realized that's cowardly, so I will go in. I will do the deed myself. I just need an opening. Which, that's bold. I don't know that we've ever seen Elokar fight. Presumably his dad had him trained to fight pretty well, but Graves seems to think he can take him out. I mean, maybe Velucar's not ready with like plate and sword. Well, I mean, he can summon his blade whenever, but. And I love that Danlin tries to argue, it'll be better for the king this way. He's dying a slow death now. We'll get it over with quickly. And Kaladin says, I'll think about it. And that's when Graves ends with, be the surgeon this kingdom needs. But Kaladin has no intention of thinking about this. He wants to know how you met them. Like, maybe figure out who else is involved. Moash tries to be like, hey, they're right. You know they are, Cal. I can see that you do. He's like, they're traitors. I want nothing to do with that. I only said I'd consider it so that they'd let me leave. So Kaladin, I mean, that's probably the way to go if you want to walk out of that room alive. And Moash tries to argue, like, this is what's good for the country. And Kaladin's like, you don't care about the country. You just care about your grudge. He's like, well, yeah, but still, did you notice that Graves treats everyone the same regardless of eye color? He married a dark-eyed woman. One of his sons is even a one-eye. So I guess that's what they call that. We saw it with that one guy previously. They must have some sort of status.
That would make him a good guy.
Yeah, it makes him not racist or whatever you want to call the prejudice by eye color. I don't know what you'd call that, actually.
Classist?
I mean, yeah, classist is really what it is, right? Yeah, just you can be not classist and still be a bad guy. But I mean, for Moash, it's all about hating the light eyes. And this guy, he's like, look, this guy doesn't care. This guy actually treats dark eyes okay, like Dalinar does. And Kaladin's like, don't talk to me about this again. Don't meet with them anymore. And Moash is annoyed by this. And when he goes back to his seat, and Kaladin can't help but think, like, be the surgeon this kingdom needs. Storms, what a mess. And that's the end of our chapters.
Fucking Moash ruining it for everyone again.
Yeah. At least now Kaladin has, like, a couple of names that he could give Dalinar. Like, hey, I found out some of the people behind this conspiracy to murder the king. One of them works for you. Maybe you could there might be a way that you can protect Moash in that. Just claim that, your guy was going undercover to figure out who was behind it or something when he got approached.
Now, Rock, I need you to do a very special job, yeah? I need you to roll Moash up in a carpet and throw him into a chasm. But why do we do this thing? Just trust me. Syl has ordained it. Oh, okay.
Just have Syl ask him for a favor. It's fine. It'll work out. Okay.
Get the carpet.
Oh, well, that's the real question. I mean, Tin had that rug in her. I wonder what Shallan did with that. Maybe just burned it with her body. Or maybe Shallan took it with her into just now it's Sabariel's manor. She stole most of Tin's stuff, like her trunks and her clothing and everything. So, or is that stealing, or did she win it when she defeated Tin in their duel to the death?
Really a duel.
Okay, fair.
I mean, you think about how shitty everyone got at Adolin when he started brawling in a duel, so.
True enough. Okay, we're moving into predicaments. For next time, we're reading 3 chapters this time around. Chapter 47 is called Feminine Wiles. Chapter 48 is called No More Weakness. And Chapter 49 is called Watching the World Transform. So, where are we going? What kind of stuff are we about to see? What do you guys think is going to happen?
Well, I feel like Feminine Wiles has got to be a Shallan chapter because, we're talking about Feminine Wiles. With the Kaladin's going to be faced with some Feminine Wiles, I doubt it.
Danlin is going to start coming onto him now. It's going to be awkward.
Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, so Feminine Wiles, I feel like that's a Shallan chapter. What's going to happen in it, I don't know. I assume it's going to be more of her and Adolin kind of back and forth, trying to figure out like what they're doing. She can also kind of use that position with that rapport with Adolin to accomplish her other mission for Mraize, try to get in with him so that she can infiltrate the place more easily.
Oh, that's true because like Adolin knows Amaram, right? So
yeah, if she's made that connection, which I assume she has. So got that part. No more weakness. I don't know. To me, that screams like a Parshendi chapter, but we haven't had like a full Parshendi chapter outside of the interludes. Or am I wrong about that? I don't know.
I believe you're right.
So it also could be a Kaladin chapter. I feel like either of those perspectives could have that title. Watching the world transform sounds like another Parshendi one to me, but I don't know.
They are big on the transforming, right?
Yeah, or the like has to do something with storms, or maybe the weeping's coming much faster than we think. In the line of chapters, we're like almost at the halfway point in the book but now, so like I don't know what's going to start happening and when. Unfortunately, just because I'm not sure what the pacing of this book is like so far, because I feel like we're still developing a lot of new relationships, characters are meeting finally, but like we don't really know how fast those relationships are going to develop and change, or how much plot progression we're going to get. So for that, it makes it a little difficult for me to kind of think what those chapters could be specifically about, besides who the perspectives could be. But I feel like, I did I did a lot of my predicaments up at the front of the show, because you had mentioned some dots that I already felt like I'd connected. But yeah, I feel like we had some heavy Hoid in the last 3 or 4 chapters. So I don't know if he's going to play a more significant role going forward. If I'm right and he is the Marae's character, then I don't know how much more of him we'll get to see in this book. If Shallan keeps communicating with him, maybe quite a bit. But I don't even know how quickly, or if she'll be able to infiltrate this thing at all. I'm also wondering, like, we've all talked about, and I only bring it up because it's been a while since we've talked about it. We've all talked about how we think Yasna is alive. Like, when is she going to come back? That's something I'm really interested to know. Based on like the little epigraphs in the books, I would guess she's probably not going to come back until after the Parshendi are going to strike with however they're going to strike with these new forms, just based on her mom's journal epigraphs. But I want her to be a part of the story again. So I would almost love to see, like, maybe she'll be in an interlude or something, and we'll get her perspective and be like, oh my gosh, she's alive. Before she
if she's off somewhere, then we could hang out with her for a bit before she shows up. Yeah,
until she shows up, like, on main page with the other characters. So I'd really love to see that soon. Maybe in the next set of interludes. That'd be pretty fun if that is possible. But yeah, I feel like I've laid out some predicaments before that can't quite come to fruition just yet, because we're kind of waiting on more plot development, or more of our characters to kind of like directly converse and overlap in a more direct way. I feel like it's been pretty shallow with the characters meeting since everybody kind of converged at the Shattered Plains. A lot of the conversations between them have been a little bit more shallow, and most of the development we're getting is within characters that have already been close together in proximity already. So I'm hoping that we'll get more of that soon as well. But I'm prepared to say that this is a very enjoyable book. I've enjoyed most of the chapters so far. Again, like, I know these books are longer, but like I feel like the pacing maybe just be still a little bit too slow for me. But it doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. I really am enjoying it. So
yeah, it's fair. I mean, they're big epic things. The pacing, I can see how it could be a thing, especially since we know Brandon's books tend to build, and then like they hit that point and then they just go.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So like, we're getting some development, but like I want the Sanderlanche to start churning. Like, I want that avalanche of events to just start going. But
we are now at the beginning of the next chapter, 50% of the way through the book, so we've hit the halfway point, like you mentioned, and so it's we still got a lot. I mean, this is episode 16 of this book, I think, and we still have another 16 to go. It's the 32 episode.
Wow,
is what I have it outlined at. So
yeah, that's almost that's only 20 weeks shy of a year on this one book. That's crazy.
I mean, the last one was 30 episodes, so it's not that much longer than the previous one, but it's a little bit more episodes. But I like your theories about them sounding like Parshendi chapters, and I will remind that even we haven't seen, like you said, we haven't had like main chapters, and I don't think any Parshendi were mentioned in like the part break where it was like it shows us who the prospective chapters are going to be. But what we do still have coming is that they've arranged a meeting with the Parshendi.
Yeah, that's true.
And we haven't seen that yet. So that's got to come up at some point, one would assume, unless they're going to yada yada over. Oh, yeah, by the way, we met with the Parshendi, which Jack will never let them live down if that happens.
Yeah. Imagine the big meeting and like the Parshendi have gone full like full monster on them, and it's like, yep, we're under attack now. That happened while you guys were on a different page talking about like Kaladin futzing around.
Shallan and Adolin were on a date, and
and the Parshendi attacked. It was great.
Oh my god, I would lose my mind.
So you could still have like a Parshendi chapter, but without the Parshendi perspective, if it was about that. So that's hanging around out there somewhere.
Yeah, and we've got little snippets in other chapters about what's going on with them, but we just haven't had like a full blown thing.
And like you said, we've had I think the weakest one of the possibilities you've mentioned is the Mraize one. I don't know how much support there is for that one, but the other two seem like pretty solid Hoid possibilities to me. And I can see where you're coming from on the Mraize thing. I just think of the three, it's the one with the least support.
Like I said, the Mraize thing, like a lot of that support for me comes from my personal experience of like going to the convention.
Yeah.
And like seeing that there was like a Hoid collection and this guy's got a collection. But then also just her saying he reminded her of the messenger. And then in the very next section of things we read, we meet that guy she said reminded her of him. And it's obviously Hoid. Like, and I think Mraize has like gray hair or something. So it's like, I'm like, well, we know he's had black hair and we know he's had gray hair. So
yeah, that's out there. That's a possibility. It does seem to be a lot of kind of like Hoid hinting here, so maybe we'll see him show up again, or maybe this is as close as we get is like flashback.
Yeah,
Hoid.
Well, if I'm right about Mraize, like I said, that's like a lot of Hoid stuff in a very short amount of time, which is I feel like not normal for these books.
Yeah, but yeah, some possibilities there as we're moving into the next section, and we shall see. We've got how many? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4 more episodes of this part before we get to the interlude, and usually the parts end on something pretty big, so we may be building to like a mini Sanderlanche here as we approach the end of the part, or maybe it'll be one of those that's not, it's like Dalinar's like, I'm going to abdicate, which I mean there was a build up to that, but it didn't feel like that epic a part ending, so we'll see, I suppose.
Don't really know what's happening now. Feminine wiles, like that could be like, that's got to be Shallan, but I don't know in what context. Is this Shallan on a date with Adolin? Is this Shallan trying to break in Amaram's stuff? Who knows? Like, she could use her feminine wiles in any of those situations, or in a completely unrelated situation. So I don't know.
If she starts flirting with Amaram, like, would that be weird with Adolin, like, there?
Yeah.
So you're talking about places she could use her feminine wiles. She's got to try to get into Amaram's house, so that's one way she could go at it.
I imagine she's probably not going to try and steal his secrets while he's there.
Yeah, okay, fair point.
Maybe she's trying to just like distract the guards or something. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have much there. But was it no more weakness?
No more weakness. Yep.
I mean, that could be Kaladin saying that, or no, that could be Moash saying that about Elhokar to Moash, because I feel like Moash isn't going to let this go. Like Kaladin said, don't talk to these guys, don't talk to me about this, and Moash is like, but I'm gonna, because Moash is like that. Like, just doesn't shut up. General overall predictions. I look forward to. I do think Shallan is going to try and break into Amaram stuff sooner rather than later. I think she might have a couple of attempts which don't quite go so well, and maybe a more successful one is where she closes this part. But she doesn't really know what she's looking for in Amaram's house, so it's going to be confusing. But like, didn't they only give her like a deadline of a week or something?
I think, yeah, they said next week, I think. So we don't know exactly which day next week, but yeah. So we'll
so at some point, whether it's in these next few chapters or pretty soon after that, she's going to have to try and get in there somehow. So I look forward to seeing how that goes. Maybe she gets caught by Kaladin coming back out. Like, I don't know, Kaladin's delivering a message to Amaram from Dalinar. Actually, Dalinar wouldn't make him do that because Dalinar knows that Kaladin hates him. Maybe Adolin.
Yeah, that would be a bad choice. Yeah.
Adolin's like, take this thing to Amaram, and Kaladin's like, you what, mate? And Adolin's like, what?
I think actually Kaladin has established that he doesn't follow orders from Adolin.
True. Maybe he has to escort someone over there.
Well, see, that could happen. Like, Adolin could go visit Amaram.
Yeah, and Kaladin would have no choice but to follow.
Yeah.
So that'd be something. Kaladin and Adolin are like walking over to Amaram's place. Kaladin is pissed because of where they're going. Adolin has no clue what he's so angry about this time and doesn't care. And right as they get there, they catch Shallan like as she's escaping the place. It's like, the fuck were you doing in there?
That would be awkward all around. Yep.
And then the three of them would have to be like sworn to secrecy between themselves, and like Shallan and Adolin be like, I don't trust Kaladin with this. Like, and Kaladin's like, the fuck have I gotten into this time? Jesus Christ!
Always with these light eyes. Jeez.
It's like, if it's not Moash like leading me into secrets that I have to try and keep, it's fucking Adolin. What? And Shallan, what has happened to my life? Yeah, I don't really have much. I'm just like, I'm just gonna let the story play out at this point. Given the fact we're almost at the end of part 1, I'm like, All right. So even if it's not the end of like a section part, something interesting will probably happen in the like upcoming, but it might not be monumental.
Mm.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's right. I keep forgetting that you guys have the half of the book. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I said last time it's chapter 51 is like the last chapter in the book itself.
Oh, yeah, so that'll be like episode after next one, where you
Yeah.
guys. Well, and we don't end on that chapter. We keep going one chapter past that, so you guys will have a book transition for one episode. Then you can hold on to a book, and Jamie can hold on to a book, and while recording.
Yay! I've never had the book ever.
Not even when you just finished it right before the record. He came over and stole it.
No, Jack gets to sit up in the office playing his little game. Whatever you're playing, what's that thing called? The DS, and have the book, and I juggle the toddler. It's good times. She has not stopped talking to me today. Far out. It's like, stop. She won't even give me time to answer her before she asks me again. It's like, stop.
Been there, yep.
That's fine. Anyway, Feminine Wiles, it has to be a Shalon chapter. I don't know that we're going to go straight into getting into Amaram's place, but it wouldn't surprise me if she's starting to fish for a bit of information. So she may end up talking to Adolin in this sort of chapter. Also could be kind of fun to see, because she talked about like she'd probably never have a chance to flirt with anyone because her dad would just pick her husband and like that would be it. So it would be kind of interesting to see her in a situation where, I mean, we saw her a bit with the Jam Man, but to see her with someone that she likes, but also he likes her back and isn't just trying to kill her. Not ward, she was the ward.
I guess mentor, maybe?
Mentor, yeah. So I would like to see those two interact a bit more, because last time we saw Shallan and Adolin together, Adolin was just captivated by the fact that she wasn't falling all over herself to be near him. So that could be a lot of fun still. And, you know, she needs information on Amaram. She's got to do some groundwork before she gets into his place. So why not start with the people that know him? So Adolin and Dalinar are probably good to start with there. No more weakness. Yeah, I don't know who feels that like they're super weak at the moment. Could be Adolin as well. Could be Renarin. Could be anyone. Could be Kaladin having to deal with Bridge 18. Feels a bit blunt to be like, no more weakness from Kaladin, but you know.
That would be a little off form for him, yeah.
It would be, but you know, you never know what situation you're in. And watching the world transform, I could also be a Shallan chapter when she was, having to. So when we saw her at the end of her last chapter, and it's presumably the first time that she's seen the world using the Stormlight, because she saw it, it felt real. We've seen her then put a disguise on herself. We've seen her then build a wall like out of nowhere. So I would almost like to see her start building a world and like taking the time to sketch this world that she can create and build and create the illusion, more personalities for herself, so that if she's got a quick change, she can do that quickly. But also, you know, build what she needs to be able to, you know, if she's scoped out, say, what part of Amaram's house looks like, if she's able to then sketch those and then hide in places, like that would be an extremely useful skill for her. So I'd like to see like a chapter of her trying to, you know, plan her heist effectively using the abilities that she knows she has. I think that would be cool. In terms of overall predictions, I don't have a lot. I feel like we're still at that start of a chapter. I think it makes sense logically for the end of the part to probably be where, you know, the Shallan and Amaram thing is kind of playing out. It's too early for probably more assassins, or, you know, our deadline of the 37 days to go. This thing with Kaladin and Moash, they now that we've jumped into it so quickly, I feel like that's going to have to come up again pretty soon. Kaladin's hand has kind of been forced into, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to deal with this. I don't think he's going to run straight to Dalinar and dob him in or anything, but he is going to have to do something, and I think Moash is going to be more of a problem than what Kaladin wants to believe.
Because you got to do something, right? He can't just let this go.
Correct. And like straight away, you got to be like, you're not on, like you could do patrol, but you're not, you should not be allowed in the King's Palace.
100% should not,
like,
yeah.
Because I do not trust you as far as I can throw you. The other people, like I don't know whether he would sort of play along a little bit. I think the fact that he's already told Moash that, I said that I'd consider it to get out of there. I wasn't actually going to consider it. I just don't see Moash then bringing him back in to the meeting. So I think the opportunity to seek out any more information about who these people are or anything from Kaladin's perspective is probably gone. And so whether he knows that Danlin is a part of Dalinar's scribes. So does he start like watching her a bit more or getting some more information out of her in the best way he can? Yeah, he's got to take action. So I would expect that's pretty much straight away. Realistically, Moash should be on dish duty and not be allowed to go anywhere. And also, you kind of want to keep Moash close too, because if you alienate him, he can leave. Yep. He can leave the army and Bridge 4, and he can just go with these people, and then you have no idea what he's doing. So that would be a problem too. I'm so curious as to what Shen has to say. Like to have been cut off in that conversation by Moash, I hope we get that conversation sooner rather than later. It would be good to have Shen really say or do anything, but there's got to be a piece of information here that he's going to share about the Spren or transformations or something to give Kaladin maybe some insight into his own abilities or something like that. I'm not sure how that's all going to tie in, but I hope we get that sooner rather than later. But yeah, beyond that, I don't know where this story's going.
It was a little frustrating to Shen starts to tell us something. Is like, oh, nope, never mind.
The guy's finally talking after like a book and a half, and Moash walks in and ruins it.
But you had a couple ideas that I actually really... Okay, so first off, the idea that Shallan, like as part of planning a heist, creates like a library of drawings, like that's her heist prep, is kind of genius. I love that because like that was what she discovered. Like you said, that her weakness is she can't do this unless she draws it first. So the very first thing I would do is create a bunch of drawings that I could use in various situations so that I'd have that ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that would be an awesome scene to have as like heist prep, is just she's sitting in her room drawing different things that she could think of that she might need.
Shallan the tightrope walker and stuff, like, that would be really cool.
So yeah, and also you had the thought about that she could start out by gathering information through like Adolin or maybe Dalinar, and that's a really elegant way to approach it because she has a very public reason to go to Dalinar's camp from Sabarial's camp and to like interact with those people, right? Like, if she shows up in Sadeas's camp, they're like, who are you and why are you here? If anything, they're suspicious of her because she's associated with Dalinar. So finding an excuse to go there might be difficult, maybe not, but she has a ready-made excuse to hang out with like Adolin and his family. So that would be the perfect place for her to start. You're right, to start getting things ready.
And to say I don't see Adolin and Dalinar wandering over to Amaram's house and Sadeas's camp or anything, but to know, say, when Adolin was not Adolin, what's his name? Amaram, to know when Amaram was going to be, say, with Dalinar. That's a perfect opportunity to go in because he's not home. So just even like that sort of information, it wouldn't necessarily have to be, secrets and things, but I could definitely see her using her feminine wiles to get some information.
Yeah. I mean, she may not be the best at feminine wiles. She hasn't had much time to practice. As somebody, was it Dak that was pointing this out? No, it was you. You were talking about Jam Man. Yeah. So, but, you gotta start somewhere.
That's it. But if she draws a version of herself that is confident like that, then maybe she's good to go as well.
Also true. Yeah, I guess it really depends on how far she can push things with her drawings. Is it just visually, or like can she really change things about who she is? Because I mean that would be almost soul stamping that we saw Shai do, right? Mm-hmm. Because like Shai literally changed her entire history. So can what Shallan is doing is it that powerful or somewhere in between? We don't really know yet.
I don't think it would be a case of just that like her ability to draw and then project that sort of image, but all the conversations with Yasna about, you have to be commanding. Like if you do that, then that's how you come across. And then she's used that in practice. And then the conversations with Tien about like acting the part and all that sort of stuff. I don't think for a second she'd be comfortable with it, but she could probably pull something off. And the fact that she already really quite likes Adolin would probably help. I mean, she may stick her foot in it and say something stupid, but maybe he's just as captivated, so he might find it endearing.
It's true, yeah. She could say something, because he was definitely as captivated with her as she was. So that you can get around a lot of sins when you're both just that into each other.
Yeah.
It's a fair point. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's some interesting ideas. Let's move into emails. We have a bunch of emails. Oh, hold on. Actually, first, Joe, get ready. We have one new patron. Get your patronizing ready. Got to patronize people. We'll read a couple of these emails. We have a bunch, but I don't think we'll go through them all this time. This one is from Saptarshi, is how I'm going to choose to pronounce that. I'm sorry if I got that horribly wrong. It says, listener and first-time emailer. Hi, DDJ&J. Greetings from India. I found you guys in early 2024 when I decided to read through the Cosmere in anticipation of Stormlight 5. Story time. I have always been a reader of one degree or another since I was a child and picked up the hobby from my father. I had read Harry Potter, who didn't in the mid-2000s, and some Stephen King when I was younger, but it wasn't my primary form of entertainment. After my father's unexpected death in 2019, when I was in great need of escapism, I found fantasy. Fantasy provided much more than simple escapism. It kept me sane at that point in time. When I was reading through The Wheel of Time, I heard mention of Sanderson, and the idea of an entirely interconnected fantasy universe fascinated me. I made a note of reading Sanderson someday and decided that 2024 was going to be it, what I call my year of Sanderson. And I'm glad I chose you guys to be my guides through the Cosmere. You've become an essential companion to my evening coffee, and I get to geek out about stuff that I don't get to talk about in real life. None of my friends are readers. Thank you for all the joy you've brought to your listeners. Buzzing to the time of next. Saptarshi. So, thanks. I'm glad that you have been enjoying it.
Yep. It's cool when we get people to have fun geeking out.
Yeah. Sorry about your dad, but I'm glad that you found a way to sort of keep yourself afloat. Reading can do lots of amazing things for you if you are a reader type person. I know some people who just books. Why?
Because the movie's not as good.
It's true. The movie is almost never as good as the book. I feel like we've had this discussion before. Every once in a while, you get one. But
yeah,
Big Trouble is my example of that. But I think that's because I don't like how Dave Barry writes. But the movie was a lot of fun.
I didn't even know that was a book.
Yeah, it's one of the many Dave Barry books. Comic writer of the 90s, I guess, for the most part. But I knew somebody in high school or middle school who just loved his books, and I never read one until I saw that movie, and I was like, maybe I'll check out a couple of these books, and I do not like his writing at all. All right, we'll do another one for now. I'm gonna save that. One of these has a review with it, or not? Yes, a review with it, but I'm gonna save that one for next time. We're gonna do this one from Ryan. This email came in a couple days ago. No, came in yesterday. Sorry. Well, it says Yasna's death. Hey, Sanderlanche crew. I'm a bit late in responding, but I wanted to answer your call to hear if people believed Yasna was dead after the events on the boat. Personally, I didn't question it at all. While we didn't get Shallan going up and checking the body, I figured a knife to the chest, unconscious, and then turning the boat to water in a storm was clear enough to not have the death fake out. It was disappointing because I was so excited for the Yasna-Shallan story to really kick off. I did enjoy what Shallan's story turned out to be, but I still wonder what would have happened if Yasna had survived. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the book. I love listening to all of you go through your Sanderson journey each week. But so there's one answer that this person, like me, I guess, just didn't question Yasna's death at all. I'll be like, yeah, the book said she's dead. She's dead.
Why would the book lie to me?
Yeah, right?
It's not
Brandon
like
would never do that.
Yeah, it's not like Brandon's ever lied before. I mean, look, I don't want to believe that. Like, I just think it's so much more interesting if she survives.
There was so much potential with her character.
Yeah.
And so much mystery that we still don't know all the stuff that she knew. So I agree that there's a lot there that we're losing Yasna that could be very interesting if she wasn't really dead. So I totally see that perspective on it for sure. All right. Thank you for the emails, y'all. You're awesome. We love getting emails. If someone wants to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanch@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and X and Patreon, where I am currently posting my readings of the preview chapters for Wind and Truth, along with Dragonsteel Prime. Dragonsteel Prime has taken a back seat for the Wind and Truth chapters lately, especially since I've gone down to one new video a week, one new thing. They're audio clips, a week of me reading the stuff, and so those have been on Thursdays, and most of the ones that I have scheduled now for the next couple weeks are the Wind and Truth ones, because now that I'm allowed to read it, I like reading it. I want to know what happens next. As much as anybody else, I want to know what happens next. So it's hard to resist. We do have one new patron, so if you're interested in hearing that kind of stuff, you can join our Patreon like this person did and hear me talk and ramble and rant about connections and stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe that person is there. When did this happen? All sorts of craziness. Our new patron this week at the misting level is Big Black Coffee.
Big Black Coffee, thanks for supporting us. That's awesome. You are a blood maker. Store that gold, make that blood.
That's a good one. I mean, it's not fun to store up.
No.
But it's fun to it's probably not really fun to use either, but it's useful is the word that I'm looking for there.
Yeah, very useful.
You don't want to get hurt and have to use it, but if you're gonna get hurt, it helps to have this around.
Right. You're not as scared. You're not as afraid of being hurt if you've got some gold stored.
Yeah.
Just picturing Kenny from South Park when he explains like how he comes back to life all the time. It's like, it actually fucking sucks, guys.
I believe it. Yeah, So, like I said, we're doing 3 chapters. We're back up to 3 chapters for next time. It will be a rare occurrence after this that we do less than that. Although, actually, I say that one of the upcoming interludes is the single longest chapter in the book. And so in that episode, we have 2. But other than that. So 3 chapters for next time, 47, 48, and 49, if you are following along. Music by Miracle of Sound. And wasing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crab at it.
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.